Hello, everyone. I think I'm on. Give it about 1 minute, see if anybody else is going to join us. Certainly beautiful weather for a virtual event today. All right, I'm going to assume Hopin is working. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending part of your lunch hour with me. I will do my best to deliver content over the next half hour that is intellectually tasty and nutritious. Congratulations on having excellent taste in sessions to attend here, Startup Week 2020. There we go. I'm Tom Pick. I am a senior digital marketing consultant focused on startup and small to mid-size B2B technology companies. I am the author of The Comprehensive Guide to Content Marketing Software. It's a novel. It's a spy thriller. Not really. It's pretty much what it sounds like. I am editor and chief writer at the Ubiquity blog, easier for me to say, and I will be your guide through B2B influencer marketing do's and don'ts here today. Here's the plan. Now, I presume everyone here has some familiarity with influencer marketing, thoughts, notions, perhaps experiences. So on this first point, it's not meant to be influencer marketing 101, and I'll try not to be Captain Obvious with it, but rather it's sort of setting the baseline, kind of like here's my definition, so we're all on the same page. We'll spend just a couple of minutes setting the stage and then dive into the meat of today's content, the key do's and don'ts to help you be successful with influencer marketing and get results from it. Then we'll wrap up with a quick case study, and if you have any questions, a little Q&A toward the end. Due to the vagaries of the Hopin platform, I'm going to ask that you please hold your questions until the end. It's just a lot easier, and we should have plenty of time. I do believe. So here's my definition. I want to emphasize kind of 4 key points here. So first, that influencer marketing is about developing long-term relationships. It's not about one-off transactions or one-time campaigns. In fact, according to recent research from Top Rank Marketing, 60% of marketers who manage influencer marketing as an ongoing program say they're highly successful with it, versus just 5% of marketers who treat it as a one-off. Or in other words, if you view this as an ongoing part of marketing, you're 12 times as likely to be successful with it. Second point, it's mutually beneficial. So if you've ever been in a relationship, whether a friendship, romantic relationship, right, where one person was kind of self-centered and made everything about them, you know those relationships aren't any fun. They're unstable, they don't last. So figuring out how to benefit both parties is vital to influencer marketing success. And third, it's about connecting with key influencers in your specific industry segment. That group is different, obviously, for every vertical market. So doing research to find the most relevant and engaging influencers in your market is a critical part of the process. And finally, keep in mind that the primary goal of influencer marketing is expanding brand awareness, followed closely by establishing brand credibility and a positive image. Now, certainly you can generate leads from this, and obviously you should measure those. Just don't make lead gen the primary metric for success. For influencers, their goals are similar. They want to expand and enhance their personal brand so they get more readers, speaking gigs, accolades, those sorts of things. They like working, now influencers like working with big companies because of the credibility that confers. But fortunately, given that this is Twin City Startup Week, They also like working with startups because they want to be seen as on the cutting edge. They want to talk about innovation, about what's new, and that is the value that startups bring to them as influencers. Yeah, B2B influencer marketing is not this, though there are some similarities between B2B and B2C. And in both cases, influencers are people who are perceived to have subject matter expertise. So whether that's camping equipment or enterprise software. They also tend to be charismatic and active on multiple social media platforms, but there are key differences as well. So B2B influencer marketing is really driven by valuable content, not so much imagery. So text, diagrams, infographics, that sort of thing. Second is a difference in scale. So an influencer with 100,000 followers might be kind of on the low end actually for B2C, but that's huge in the B2B world. For really specific topics like in-memory databases or industrial Internet of Things, something like that, an expert might be influential with less than 10,000 followers. Easier for me to say, 10,000 followers. And third, keep in mind that these B2B influencers are driving deliberative, research-based decisions by buying teams rather than individual consumers. Here's sort of one approach to influencer marketing. Obviously, an actual influencer marketing plan would have a lot of detail behind this, and this is by no means the one and only be-all and end-all of influencer marketing frameworks. It's just one roadmap that can work well. A couple of things to point out here. First, I'm clearly not a graphic designer. More to the point, note that after you've done your initial research and kind of built your influencer list, or at least that initial list of influencers you're going to target for outreach, it's important to break the ice before doing that outreach. So imagine two scenarios. In the first one, you meet someone, again, in normal non-pandemic times when we actually get out to things, or maybe you connect online, right? But you meet someone and you have a nice conversation, and then you run across them again at another event or something else online, have another good conversation, and then the third time you run into them, they ask you for a small favor. I mean, you'd probably do it, right? But contrast that with a situation where you meet someone new and boom, right away, the first thing is they ask you for that same favor. Now that seems a little awkward, right? Maybe a little inappropriate, and you're probably less likely to say yes, just because it's like, really, we just met and you're... So doing outreach that way, just sort of, hello influencer, this is me, and here's what I want you to do for me is not a great approach. It's better to kind of warm them up first. So ice breaking online as part of an influencer marketing program serves the same function as networking does in real life, right? Give to get, provide value before you get anything. Follow your influencers on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, mention them, share some of their content. That approach is much more likely to get you a yes when you get to the outreach phase. It's also important to maintain these relationships because, like content marketing, influencer marketing is a practice that provides increasing value and results over time. It's not really efficient or effective to treat it as kind of a one-off, one-time activity. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the meat of today's presentation, the do's and don'ts that will help you develop a healthy and successful influencer marketing program. First off, in terms of the outreach, again, as we previously noted, influencer marketing is about building relationships, and it's not a pure numbers game. Don't do automation. Automated outreach is tacky, it's easy to spot, and it's kind of offensive. It's likely to damage your brand rather than enhancing it. When I see the same quote-unquote introductory email from the same company 2, 3, or 4 times, I know they're not approaching this in a personalized, professional manner. Quick true story here. There was an agency that reached out to me about a year ago or so, and it was kind of a, hi, this is who we are. We came up with this cool infographic, wondering if you want to share it, which is fine. But then the next day I got exactly the same email, and then the next day and the day after again and again, exactly the same email, like the introductory kind of email 4 times. I ended up contacting the CEO of the company and telling him about this, like, you may not want to do this, right? And he apologized, and even he'd just written a book. He even sent me a signed copy of his book, which is kind of nice. And then I didn't, that didn't happen again until literally last Friday. I got another introductory email from the same organization, and I sent the CEO another email and reminded him of what happened a year ago. And it's like, come on, don't do the automation. This is not good. Now, there are a number of helpful influencer marketing tools like Heapseed, BuzzStream, Clear, that's Clear with a K, that can help automate the research phase of influencer marketing. That is, identifying influencers and building your list. And that certainly helps with the efficiency. But be very careful using tools like that for outreach. As far as the do on this one, so the influencer marketer, if the influencer has a website or a blog, take a close look at that before reaching out. Some influencers don't accept guest posts, some do. Those who do often have specific guidelines to follow. So if an influencer has specific instructions or requirements for outreach, be sure to follow those, because you might not get a second chance. Moving along to the follow-up. Influencers are busy people. Sending multiple emails asking, did you see my last email? In a short time frame is a great way to annoy them, but not a great way to achieve your objectives. I'd recommend leave like 3 to 4 days between messages, and after your initial outreach, send maybe 2 follow-ups at the most. Of course, the easier it is for the influencer to respond, the more likely they'll do that. So, for example, just asking for like a 2 to 3 sentence answer to one question, or maybe a 20-minute podcast interview, it's easier to say yes to than something like contributing a guest post, which is a lot more work. So if you be sure to make that the follow-up, that ask easy and the follow-up easy. And if you want them to tweet out something for you or share something on LinkedIn, send a pre-written post they can just copy and paste. Really make it easy for them. In terms of the tone, so we've already noted your outreach shouldn't be automated. It also shouldn't be generic. Using the influencer's first name in your email greeting and being topically relevant is really kind of just the start. Explain why you're reaching out to them specifically. Why are you interested in that particular influencer? And even more importantly, why should they be interested in you? Be authentic. Your first objective is just to establish a human-to-human connection. If the influencer has recently received some sort of award or industry recognition, congratulate them. If you attended the same school, or you've been to some of the same events, or you have common connections, mention that. It all helps. In terms of the actual ask, there are sort of a couple of keys to getting the ask right. The first is to understand each influencer's preferred formats. Like, for example, some bloggers accept guest posts, some don't. Podcasters or people who do video interviews and put them up on LinkedIn, there we go, LinkedIn or YouTube, are often looking for guests. So you might be able to pitch yourself or a client for one of those guest spots. The second key here is to understand the influencer, sort of the influencer's level, right? So those who are just starting out and trying to build a reputation, they'll be most likely to say yes, even to kind of a non-trivial effort like writing a guest post, because they want the exposure. Those who are somewhat established but still trying to grow their audience will likely say yes, as long as it doesn't require too much effort. At the top of the food chain, the sort of the A-listers are the most challenging. Your ask has to be very easy, and it has to benefit them in some way. Many, though not all, will contribute like a short bit of wisdom to an expert roundup post, as long as the number of experts is limited. So 6 to 12 is good, probably kind of the ideal range. But if you want Gary Vee or Seth Godin to write a guest post for your blog, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. In terms of quality, things like bad grammar, misspelled words, obvious cut and paste, the kind you can, the fonts and colors are different, and other kinds of errors make your outreach look really bad, really cheesy. Shoddy writing reflects poorly on your brand. Now, most professional marketers would never do such a thing, of course, but they may be tempted to hire a cheap firm or virtual assistant or someone off Fiverr to help scale up their outreach. That's not a good move. Your outreach should be polished like a resume or a sales letter. That reflects well on you and also shows respect for the influencer, right? That they're important enough for you to put that level of effort into the outreach. The do's and don'ts in terms of your goals. So trying to pitch a poorly written sort of 101 level content, guest post just to get a backlink is tacky. And Google has figured that out. So in addition to offending influencers, it won't even help you much with SEO. Remember from our definition earlier, the concept of mutual benefit, right? Your outreach has to provide value for the influencer as well as you. So if you are writing a guest post, really think about the interest and the knowledge level of the audience that influencer has. If you're pitching an infographic, put some effort into both the research and the design. Make it look good. If you get an opportunity to be a podcast guest, now do your homework and be prepared to provide insightful answers. All right, that's it for the do's and don'ts. So quick case study here. You're probably asking, what can influencer marketing do for your brand? A quick case study here. G2 Planet, a company that develops enterprise-level event planning and production software, started their influencer marketing program by doing research to find the most influential people in their industry, though obviously people who are not competitors. So people like event planners, corporate event marketers, event agencies, sound and lighting companies, complementary technology or software vendors, consultants, venue managers, entertainment brokers, keynote speakers, bloggers, podcasters, that whole event ecosystem. Then they engaged with these people and helped them promote themselves through social media, interviews, expert roundup posts, and resource lists. It was all about great content for G2 Planet and great industry exposure for the influencers. In 2 years, the company built up like an army of supportive influencers, which not only greatly increased their brand awareness, but also drove tangible business results, as kind of shown here. One more quick example. I'm working with a software company over in St. Paul that just started an influencer marketing program this summer. Now, social media traffic to their blog had been just sort of bumping along kind of through the spring, but looking at what's happened since they kicked off this effort, compared to June, their social media visits doubled in July and tripled in August. That's not necessarily typical, and certainly there's no guarantee that you get those kind of results, but clearly it can happen. And that is it. That's all I got. What influencer marketing is, what to do, what not to do, and a couple of examples of what influencer marketing success can look like. We definitely have time for some questions, so if there are any, throw those in the chat. And Eliana, okay, so question regarding the software you used to do research, and I mentioned a couple of them briefly. What are they, and would you be able to help us understand them better? Yeah, there are. I did mention, I think it was Heapsy, BuzzStream, and Clear with a K. There are a number of those out there. I actually could share. There's a post I wrote, if you want to contact me offline, with a big list of influencer marketing tools. So I'd be happy to share that. Second question was also about the technology. Yeah, again, so Heapsy, BuzzStream, Clear, and I've got a post I can share. What stage of the process of any do you think that are okay for outsourcing? You said specifically not the actual outreach. It's not so much that you can't outsource, it's that you keep sort of all of these do's and don'ts in mind. So if you're going to do it, if you're going to do outsourcing, do it with a professional who's got those kinds of standards. Don't look for like I say, a cheap source or a virtual assistant, and nothing against virtual assistants, but this is just a little bit, especially the outreach, is a little bit higher level activity that you want somebody who's going to reflect well on your brand, right? So if you've got a consultant that you work with on a regular basis, maybe someone that's developed content for you, someone that really knows your company and your industry, I don't know that there's any aspects you shouldn't outsource, but it's more about being careful how you outsource those. What exactly do I do to assist in the process? I want to be careful not to use this platform for marketing. So by all means, feel free to contact me offline. I'd be happy to talk and see how I can help you out. I am going to actually see if I can share that post real quick, just in the chat here. So hopefully Hopin behaves and lets me do this. There is a link to the post I mentioned of influencer marketing tools if anyone wants to copy and paste that. You're welcome, Jay. Are there any other questions I can answer? Super helpful. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm sorry, Eliana. Hope I got that right. Anyway, thank you. That's very nice to hear. You did. Sure. Okay, good to know. All right. Well, if there are no further questions, I'm going to give you all about your last 5 minutes or so back. And if you haven't had lunch yet, maybe grab it before the next exciting session here. So thank you all for attending this. And I hope you got something out of it. And if you want to connect, I'm going to hang out for a while online and do some networking. So I would be happy to connect with you. Thanks, everyone.